Oh, okay. Okay, Lance, you give me consent to record this interview.
Yes.
Okay. Could you tell us just a little bit about who you are and where you work?
Yeah. So my name's Lance Noel. I've been an educator for 29 years, I guess 30, including student teaching. I've been in the same district the entire time. I'm a business education teacher and marketing teacher. So I'm a business and marketing major, I guess, who got into teaching. I've taught the entire time at the high school level. And I taught 11 years, then I was assistant principal for 6, principal for 12, and now I'm the principal of and teach in the alternative program at Eastmont High School.
Perfect. How long, so then you said you were in the principal position for 12 years?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of reflection on your time. This will be mostly surrounding your years as being a principal. What industry was representative of Eastmont High School?
Education, specifically K-12 public education, high school level.
Perfect. And then your role was principal, and you already listed those before. So thinking back on your greatest career achievement, this can be anything, whether it's like ethically or just an overall achievement. Um, and give us a little rundown of what that looks like, including like the time period, the people and services that were involved.
Okay. Well, kind of two different sorts of it. My greatest achievement ever was being asked by 3 different families to speak at their kids' memorials, and these were kids who had passed away while in high school. So that's probably the greatest honor and achievement any principal could ever get. Um, my greatest kind of professional, I guess, achievement would be the numbers that East One High School was able to hit during my tenure as principal. As far as, do you want me to go specific into what those would look like? Or?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So it would be average attendance rates at that time before COVID and everything got crazy. We were up over 90% in graduation rates, and that includes not having a separate alternative school. So every Eastmont kid was represented in those rates, and we're a 4A high school, so not a small school. And then we had attendance rates of average daily attendance well over the state average also, and that grad rate was over the state average and of pushing 90% also on average daily attendance. So
Perfect. Um, what principles or strategies do you believe that you, as well as the rest of the organization, use to lead to those outcomes?
relationships would be number one. You have to establish relationships with people, specifically when you're working in a human industry, which is what students are. So you're establishing relationships first off with your staff. You're earning the trust and relationships with parents and then the students. Um, what was the question again? Make sure I,
Um, like just overall principles or strategies that were
yeah.
used to lead to those outcomes. So,
The other thing is a simple one that I say it's called do your job, which I know sounds really simple, but people take it for granted. Um, I think if you're specifically in leadership, especially at the top, you should be outworking almost everyone. And that means you do the little things that matters. You wouldn't believe how much parking frustrates adult staff members and students and things like that. And so just dealing with the little things, answering emails, answering phone calls, being there for people when they need to talk. It's those are things that should, to me are just do your job. But if you don't do those little things, they build. And then the last one's really just being ethical. If people can't trust you, you can't make it in leadership. You never will. You'll get tanked. Actually, and I'd say the last one, the biggest negative character trait you can see in anyone who ever wants to be a leader is there's no room in leadership for narcissists. So
very
if you think you're perfect or you can't handle critique or whatever,
you
you're
are
just
wrong.
going to breed discontent. Yeah.
Perfect. And then like why do you think you kind of already went into this, but just like why the achievement was so important, mostly for like you and your staff members to like Like, how do you
Well,
think that those outcomes motivated them to continue to pursue what they were doing?
yeah. Well, it's kind of, you know, as the business major, it's like, so much of just business is around generating money, income, capital in some way. So I'm pretty fortunate that my industry is about people. And so it's basically selling the message and getting buy-in that what you do matters. And truly, when you're looking at, graduation classes of 500 students that, you like you had an impact on every one of them. You know what I mean? It wasn't like you were just manufacturing widgets or something. Like you
Building
know,
relationships, yeah.
yeah, you're creating the next, it's the next generation. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
for
yeah.
sure. Okay, so then I'm going to list some characteristics. This will be talking about, in specific, rating yourself on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being used quite frequently, and then 1 being not very much during the process of you reaching these achievements, if that
Okay.
makes sense. So
Hmm.
the first one's listening, just overall listening skills.
Wow, and that's a big one, by the way. I would say now I would put myself actually as a 5, and I'm not being a narcissist. When I started, I was not.
Mhm.
And that is a skill I have worked so hard on my whole career.
Mhm. Probably the most important.
Mhm.
And then the next one's empathy.
A 5. I mean, I that's something that was unlike listening. That was easy for me. I've
Yeah.
always been, I don't know, pretty. I think I get that from my mom, but yeah, it's easy for me to look at someone empathize.
Yes. Okay. And then the next one's healing. So making yourself and others in the face of failure or suffering feeling better or more positive, having a more positive outlook.
Hold on, real quick. Well, will you take Izzy? Thank you. Just not here. Um, well, healing for myself, I would say um, maybe a 3. That's probably partly why I needed to get out of sitting in the principal chair. I just needed a break. You know what I mean? For others, I would say I wish I was a 5, but I would say probably a 4. A lot of times, I work so hard on relationships and things like that, but I don't know, there's never enough time. There's so many people that, yeah,
Um,
that's a tough one.
the next one's awareness. So self-awareness of your strengths or limits.
Yeah, I would say now I would say I'm a 5. I've been humbled so many times. You know,
Yeah,
if you've led long enough that and you really are confident enough to take critique and listen to it, it makes you very aware very early of the traits that you have that are you, but may not be very conducive for leadership. And then
probably especially with people, I'm sure.
absolutely, especially when you got 1,500 high school students and 250 staff, right?
They don't hold
They
back.
let you know. They'll let you know what's up real quick.
Okay, perfect. And then the next one's persuasion. So when making decisions or trying to influence others.
Yeah. Now I'd rank myself high, like 5'4". I've always been kind of a salesman. Like when I was young, I could do sales and stuff. But I had a teacher, like my second year of teaching, asked me if I was honest and a leader or if I was a used car salesman. And I'll never forget it. Um, and that he had guts to say that to me. You know what I mean? Um, so I think persuasion. You need to be able to sell ideas and get your staff on board, but you better be careful and don't ever make promises you can't keep.
True
So
that.
there's a difference between persuading people and just selling them.
Hmm.
I learned that the hard way.
Gotta have a good reason to persuade.
Mhm. And you better back it up.
Okay, the next one's conceptualization. So seeking the a balance between short-term, day-to-day focus and long-term goals.
I would say I'm a 4. I probably was a 2 with that. Not that I'm not. I mean, I can plan, and I've I've had visions that I've carried out, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But I think a lot of that is just organization
Hmm.
itself and balancing kind of short term, long term, and being able to stay organized in that. I've often struggled with organization
Hmm.
just because I'm so busy trying to be able to relate out with people and doing the job, you know what I mean? It was hard for me to organize planning,
Gotta use everyone to get there.
but I had a great secretary that
Kept you straight.
she did.
Okay, and then foresight, so being able to see future outcomes with what's currently happening.
Yeah, I would say Um, I would say now I'd rank myself, yeah, probably like a five. You know what I mean? Just I think experience. I
Mhm.
often heard, not often, but I had a leader I really respected. He always said to me, Lance, there's a reason why you pay for experience.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But you better earn it. But I think the longer in something and you see things and you've dealt with things, your foresight should improve.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
patterns and everything.
Hmm.
Probably all repetition. Um, okay, and then stewardship, so same thing. Oh,
Kind of managing resources or
um, yeah, just again, like seeing the outcomes with, oh, that's on me. Yes, stewardship with like resources, people.
yeah. So a great superintendent I worked for uh, always told us that we are responsible for two of the most important things in people's lives: their kids and their money, because schools all paid for by taxpayer dollars. So that resonated with me. So I did take that very serious. I can honestly say, in all my time, well, I'm still doing it, spending budgets. I only went over budget one time. That was because of a certain parking lot I had to have redone, and it went over cost at the end with a couple other things I couldn't anticipate. But but I was always under because I think that's important. And taking care of the students was my most important. Keep them safe. I mean, and if they don't feel safe, then everything else is off the table.
Yeah,
So I would say, well, I'd give myself a four because I guess I went over budget once. Um, but uh, but yeah, taking care of the students, that was, I'm happy to say I never had a major incident the whole time I was assistant principal and principal each month. So
that kind of goes into the next one as well. It's like commitment to the growth of people. So just
that's all I'm
seeing
about. Yeah,
students
yeah.
beyond what they're currently doing,
Oh
future
yeah.
orientation.
That's easy for someone in education. You know what I mean? Like
That's your whole
you better be. Otherwise,
job.
you wouldn't
Yeah,
make it. I mean, yeah,
for
you got
sure.
run out a long time ago. I would hope.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole reason you have a job.
Yeah.
And then the last one is interest in building community. So a sense of community both within your organization and relationship or with your community outside of your organization.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me.
Hmm.
That's what I mean. I'm happy to say, and I've done a lot of things wrong, but I, I walked away from the high school principal and truly was appreciated. I
Hmm.
mean, not very many people get that. There was articles about me. Grandparents had come up and say, I didn't get one, person say to me like, thank God, or
Yeah.
I didn't hear, like, I didn't, and that speaks volumes to managing because it's not like I didn't discipline students, and it's not like I didn't, you know, lay down, there will be order, what I mean?
Yes.
But I don't know. So I think the community part uh, was something I was just blessed to enjoy, and being a one high school in our town, if you don't have that, you get run out.
Yeah.
Like they'd hate, if you're just hated and didn't have their trust, didn't build that community with not just the students, but you got to earn the trust of the parents, and they all got grandparents, and they all, so it's like, yeah. That's a
Perfect.
big one.
That's awesome. Okay. So then now we're going to move on to your challenge. So just think of the time you faced your most significant challenge, preferably like an ethical dilemma that you faced, and then kind of just give us a rundown of the same of what you did for your achievement. So just who was involved and the processes that were used.
Okay. Well, I've had a lot of challenges. Um, I would say I've often said it's very difficult to be a business major working for the state.
Mhm.
So I struggle with working for the state legislature, and a significant challenge for me was after COVID. There was a lot of laws that were passed, and there was new directives that came out for schools that I disagreed with, frankly, around discipline, attendance, just things like that. I'm not a power hungry person. I don't mistreat people. I don't think with my power, but there is power you need to wield to keep a safe school. And so um, when these things first came out, uh, frankly, I pulled in my team and said, if I go down, I go down, but I'm not going to have an unsafe school. So
Yeah.
we're rolling. You know, I mean, we're gonna discipline students that are, and especially in a community where you have gangs and things can get out of control fast. So frankly, I broke the rules, um, and I continued to carry out ethical and safe, and discipline, and to just follow my heart, and basically told the assistant principals if something happens, I'll take the heat. We had to report those numbers and nothing happened, but it was scary
Yeah.
at first because I was like, well, my days are numbered, but I will not have an unsafe school.
Yeah,
And
that's
frankly, I've never had anybody come to me and say, I mean, I've had people in the moment upset or whatever, but I've never had like this organized, like you're this terrible person.
yeah.
People know. I mean,
Follow your heart.
well, we all need order. Like we need
Mhm.
something. I mean,
For
if
sure.
if there's no speeding rules, what would I do?
Especially after COVID. That's like probably a
Absolutely.
really important time to have people step up and do what's right, even if it's against
Yeah. And
what
we
they
needed to get
want.
people back to being human.
Mhm.
So,
For sure. Okay, and then I'll ask the same list of characteristics, but this time it'll be how well during that challenge. So if you want to refer to a certain time period where that might have been the highest.
good Lord, post COVID. Okay.
And then
I
just
wasn't at my best. I was an angry man at times, but okay, here we go.
so yeah, just how much or how often you think you use them. So again, listening is where we will start.
I would say there was a time after COVID I listened less and I was much more directive. So I'd say a 3 or 4. Uh, but it was intentional at that time because I thought we needed strong leadership, but
Mhm.
probably should always listen. But yeah,
And then empathy as well.
I was still a 5 on that. Like I mean, I could see the damage and hurt with our kids
Mhm.
um, and families. So yeah, and staff. Frankly, they were
Yeah,
a mess.
probably even more in times like that.
Hmm.
Okay, and then healing. So again,
Uh,
self and others.
I'm still probably like a 4 in there. Wish I'd taken more time for that, but
It's a hard one. Lots that goes into that.
I
Um,
tend to be kind of direct or what, I mean, I don't know. I try not, well, you've met me, but yeah.
and then awareness. So self-aware of your strengths and limits.
During that time, I would say coming right out of COVID, I was probably about a 3 or 4 because everything was just blowing up and I was questioning even myself,
Hmm.
which I hadn't done historically. I mean, I was a new teacher and a new principal and like I'd been new to things,
Hmm.
and you're learning it. But at that point, I was a veteran and I shouldn't have been, why am I questioning, what's going on? That was not normal.
Yeah, something you've never having
Yeah.
to learn but not being new.
Yeah.
Um, and then conceptualization, so balance between short-term, day-to-day focus, long-term.
I would say like a three, just because at that point you were making it.
Hmm.
So long-term planning, data was all screwed up,
Yeah,
because everything got kind of reset. So you had no longitudinal. It was a, it was a mess. Yeah.
yeah, nothing to
So
base anything off
yeah,
of.
any long-term planning got rebooted,
Out the
and
door.
then you're just making it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay. And then persuasion.
I think at that point I was still probably four or five because what I'm speaking to you about, I don't think my staff saw
Hmm.
or knew. You know what I mean? And I was still persuasive in them that, you know, I was still confident, even though I don't know how confident I was on the inside.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, exactly. And that, we're going to be okay and we're going to do right and
Figure
we're
it out.
good school still. So, yeah,
Perfect. And then foresight. So,
like three probably because I'm like, what am I doing? So, yeah,
okay.
man, I was like a C principal for a while there, wasn't I?
And then stewardship is the next one.
Yeah, I was coming out of COVID. I did do a good job. I'd say a five. I did do a good job of just kind of circling the wagons, applying resources where they were most needed,
Mhm.
making sure families were taken care of. I got donations from community members that were wealthy and different that to help with. I knew families in need coming out, and so yeah, that we did do well then.
Beyond. That's great.
And I didn't overspend the budget that year.
Good. So you get an A. Commitment to the growth of people.
Yeah, I'd say a five. I mean, I was all in.
Hmm.
Well, didn't at that time know how I was going to do it, but yeah,
Still
I
doing.
was committed, not
And
sleeping about it.
then interest in building community. So,
I'd say a five. Yeah, I mean that was my whole mantra for rebooting.
yeah, do what you can.
Hmm.
Perfect. Okay, so then now we're gonna kind of look more into the organization of itself. So, could you explain like what was the mission of Eastmont High School?
At that time, it was relationships, rigor, and results. The
Perfect.
three R's.
Like it. And then the vision the same or did it differ a little bit?
Um, no, I would say that's kind of the vision statement too.
Overall.
Yeah, kind of all encompassing.
And then same thing with strategy. Or is it kind of all three of them?
During my principalship, the
Yeah.
strategy.
Hmm.
Um, I, yeah, I would say my strategies. I had to adapt post COVID,
Hmm.
because what I'd done before didn't work. But yeah, it was still relationships. And you said listening, and that's a huge leadership strategy.
Hmm.
If you can't, but yeah, relationships would be number one. Do your job, those type things. Work hard, be honest and ethical, and then you said listening, and that's huge.
Perfect.
People don't feel heard.
Yeah.
You just destroy a conversation and a relationship, really.
Yeah. Okay. And then how important do you believe the entrepreneurial mindset is when achieving these missions and values?
I think me being having a business entrepreneurial mindset has really helped me in my leadership and education. I think I'm kind of an anomaly,
Hmm.
but I look at things different. So much to if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to make it, everything needs to be a cost benefit analysis. Like because as an entrepreneur, you have a limited capital, and you have to make everything count. Um, Especially launching.
Hmm.
So many entrepreneurs don't make it because they're good at a skill or they can build or they can, do hair, whatever. But they don't understand the whole cost benefit, um, and how you have to manage your time, your money, everything, and what you are going to do next if you're going to expand, if you're going to hire, those type of things. So yeah, it's huge, even in education.
Perfect. Um, okay, so I have another list of characteristics in relation to how well you think that these characteristics are essential to achieving the mission and vision of an organization. So the first one is the need for achievement. So a drive to attain excellence, being drawn to environments in which efforts are directly related to success.
Say the last part, being drawn to what?
Um, sorry. Oh, like wanting to create an environment which efforts do directly like relate to success or the outcomes.
Yeah, that's huge.
Mhm.
Especially when you're at the top.
Mhm.
If you don't have that goal of not accepting mediocrity, of not, pushing, the needle forward with whatever you're doing, if you're stagnant as a leader, you're going backwards. I
Mhm.
mean, there is no such thing as, the if you're successful this year and you think you're just going to be able to stay the same for the next, that ain't happening. You got some humility coming your way. So yeah,
Sure. Perfect. And then the next one's openness to experience. So just being imaginative, curious, being able to take risk.
yeah, I think that's kind of a personality thing with people.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty open to it, but I would say it's probably like a four. I know leaders who are pretty conservative and not big risk takers, and they're very effective leaders.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so I don't think you have to be a high risk, high reward person to be effective leaders. They may make the big jumps,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? But the slow and steady are very effective too. In your high risk, high reward, there could also be high risk, high failure. So I don't think that's necessarily a top. That's just my
Especially in
opinion.
education, I'm sure it's a little bit different. It's outcome. Um, okay, and then the next one's innovation or creative ability. So ability to introduce new ideas or processes or procedures that could be implemented to better the outcomes of an organization.
Well, yeah, that kind of depends. I would say yes. Yes, you need to be innovative. You can't just do the same stuff, but that's kind of a personality trait too. And I
Mhm.
don't think you necessarily have to be super innovative. So I'd give that like a four,
Mhm.
but you better have, it's just like a relationship.
Mhm.
You don't, at least I didn't want to marry someone who was just like me.
Mhm.
That would have been a terrible experience. And so if you're not innovative, it'd be recognizing people who are and having them with you. But I don't think you have to be super innovative. You have to be confident enough to listen, innovate, and you need to have innovation around you. But I
Mhm.
think you can make it as a leader
For sure.
with, some innovation. But yeah,
Perfect. Um, and then risk prosperity, so ability to take risk, kind of already what we went over, but I guess
yeah.
just risk itself.
Well, leadership itself is risk.
Hmm.
When there's failure, who are you going to look at when you're at the top? Like
All of
there's,
you.
you can point down, but in the end, they all answer to you.
Hmm.
So you own it. So I would say, um, yeah, I would say risk. Your ability to take risks to me, I would almost supplant with confidence.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, you better have the confidence to take risks. So I'd say that would be like a five. But you don't have to be like a gambler, you know what I mean? Just go
Hmm.
like all in. That that to me, I don't think is needed. But if I would equate risk to confidence, and
Perfect.
yeah, you better be.
Um, and then proactivity and work ethic. So just having the ability to have a forward-looking perspective in times of
Yeah.
change.
Well, and productivity and work ethic. So I've actually had kind of arguments with leaders about this. My mantra has always been try to outwork me.
Mhm.
And I would stand in front of my staff every year and say, I expect you to work hard
Mhm.
and come check my office anytime, or see, talk to Tammy, the secretary, and see if I'm at work. And I guarantee I'm probably here before you and after you.
Mhm.
Um, and some leaders would say a good leader is better at delegating. So that's an interesting. So my belief is, as far as productivity and that, I wanted to be a five because I wanted to be a role model. But I will say that that comes at a cost.
Mhm.
And so I think part of what you have to learn with that, if you are a five like me with that, you have to learn. One of my bosses nailed me on an evaluation for his self care, and his words to me were, "You need to figure out a balance, or I'm going to do it for you," basically. So it was a tough conversation with the boss, but he was right. So
Perfect. And then entrepreneurial self-efficacy, so confidence in yourself to be able to create successful outcomes in your entrepreneurial activities.
yeah, I would say you'd want to be pushing a five,
Mm-hmm.
just because things are going to go wrong. I've
Gotta
never
go.
met a perfect leader
Yeah,
myself, case in point.
for sure.
Um, so what do you do when, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when things, you can either curl up in a ball and not try anything again, try to write it out, which you won't make it, or you just learn from it and make it happen.
Yeah, perfect. Um, okay, and then the last one's internal locus of control. This is just like the belief that you control your own outcomes or lessening the influence of external factors. So being able to look at a situation and being like, I, like I could have done this to better that, or
Yeah. I think that's extremely important. I'd rate that like a five. And the reason why, the opposite to me of
hmm
that is somebody who makes excuses. If you don't have an internal locus of control, then you defer responsibility, you defer fault, and then to me, those type people to try to take the glory.
hmm
The glory is the team. The
exactly.
fault is the leader. And
Exactly.
if you don't have that internal locus of control, that synonymous to me with confidence,
Mhm.
then nobody wants to work for that person.
For sure. Yeah, it's hard to persuade people probably with anything if seems like you have
Yeah.
zero control over
Well,
anything.
if you're taking all the glory and then no confidence and passing off all the blame,
Yeah, not gonna end well.
no.
Okay, perfect. And then the last part of this is just overall reflection again of all 12 years of your principal role. So apart from the servant leadership and the entrepreneurial mindset, just two significant lessons or attributes that you believe are essential for success in a leadership role.
Well, I like the one you pointed out, which was listening.
hmm
And it's hard.
hmm
It's really hard because a lot of people who are leaders, myself included, um, I'm pretty quick. I mean, like I'm quick to, I don't say judge, but um,
hmm
yeah, just have an answer or whatever. And the thing about listening that I've actually worked with other leaders on this when I see it with them is listening without a rebuttal.
hmm
So you're truly listening, and you'd be amazed how many meetings I've seen tanked, like just done and just like go to, ugh, like instantly because a leader will just kind of shake their head or look down or just kind of like, and show their their emotion or show their feelings, especially if it's in disagreement. And to me, that number one is insulting to the other person,
hmm
and two, it ends the conversation.
hmm
And what I learned over my career was in meetings or whatever, I was always the last to speak. And the reason why I started doing that is I learned that when I spoke at the end, because I think as a leader, you should come up with some decision or something,
hmm
just sit there and say, all right, nice job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys bear the responsibility, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But when I learned by waiting to be the last to speak, I changed my mind 9 times out of 10 from what I would have spoke initially
hmm
in some way.
No, that's huge. Like
Yeah.
being able to genuinely take it in without just trying to respond.
Yeah.
For
And then
sure.
the last one is don't be a narcissist to me. And a
Mhm.
narcissist is somebody who doesn't see fault in themselves.
Mhm.
They don't see fault in others. Um, and a narcissist is virtually impossible to coach, and they will only get better if it means their own reward. That's their only motivation in things. And to me, as a leader, you would be the exact opposite of that. You would listen to feedback, even when it's tough.
Mhm.
You would accept the fact that you're not perfect, and if you think you are, please get out of leadership.
Yeah.
Like just do the world a favor, and
Yeah.
just like literally go. I don't know, work in a submarine by yourself at the bottom of the ocean because that's where a narcissist should be.
Yeah.
Um, because you'll rot nothing but negativity and despair um but yeah, be the opposite of a narcissist.
Mhm.
Like listen to people's feedback, know you're not perfect,
Mhm.
strive to get better, and you'll be okay.
Perfect. Okay, and then just describe anything that you wish you would have specifically avoided that might have delayed your success. That's a tough one.
Yeah. Specifically, I wish I would have avoided. um I think I am I don't necessarily, I mean it worked well anyways. We all have our own. So I have a little bit of a temper. And so sometimes when I'm pushed or something, I I will tend to not become defensive but offensive. And so um, just kind of being, cruel. And I'm very hard on other leaders.
Mhm.
So I think one of the things that slowed down with my building my team, um, and it worked out. I mean, I learned, what I mean, was I was very hard on them and they would get my teeth because my expectations of them were like here, other staff are here, like students, I expect them to be, what I mean?
Mhm.
But them, I'm just like,
Nope.
I'd go right for the throat. And I think that slowed down my growth of building a team
Hmm.
that I desperately needed,
Yeah.
because frankly, they were really, really good at a lot of things I wasn't. I needed them.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want this environment where they had to fear my teeth, what I mean? Where, if they challenged me or whatever and they're wrong, there's times as a leader where you do need to step up and say, enough,
Hmm.
you know, we're not, whatever. But that should be rare. And if you find yourself doing that, somewhat frequently, you need to look at yourself. So yeah, I think that slowed down. It worked out great, what I mean? But
Can't learn without
yeah,
doing
we
it.
we joked later because I had a team of assistant principals for years, and they would tell stories about me. They called me crazy eyes, what I mean? Where I would get this look in my eyes, and they'd be like, "Oh, great," you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we would joke about it later, but
Yes.
I could tell
It
it
worked out.
left a negative, lasting impression.
Okay. Well, that's all I have today. So I will go ahead and